Are you waiting for me to applaud myself?
I am. I never know. I'm always like,
I'm not going to do it. I'm staying incredibly silent. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put more curls in front of the headphone so it looks like I have more hair than I do.
hello,
Now we're good.
everybody.
Hello.
Welcome
Welcome to
our
yeah.
show.
Hello, Jude's Nani.
Hi,
Lovely to
Nani.
see you.
How are you?
It's gorgeous out.
Oh my
You
gosh,
feeling how
it
it feel?
is. It's lovely. It's been so lovely. And I know we need rain, and I'm fine with that, but I've been enjoying the not rain.
Mm,
It's always that, it always feels that way. Like you want it to rain because it needs, like your flowers need it, but at the
right.
same time, you just like this weather's been so nice.
I know. That's right, Harrison, the Ihop murders.
Oh, yeah,
Have you heard of them?
I knew Harrison would like this
There would be
one.
fun. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm sometimes a little disappointed when it doesn't rain because I am terrible at watering plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an outside one that I had to put in the trash can today because
Aw.
I couldn't do it. This is
I'm
why I
like,
don't have children.
no, I've become, I love, and I'm not like a year-long planter. My cats eat every plant that I have inside. I
Mhm.
can't have a plant inside. But I love planting flowers outside and watching them grow. It's one of my greatest pleasures. Like I will pull up into the driveway and just sit and look at the garden
Oh,
for a little while and be like, and I'm always examining it and being like, what doesn't look right? What do I need? And
oh,
I planted a bunch, and now I'm seeing like what's growing and what didn't seem to take root. So now I'm like, okay, now I need to replace these couple. Like I'm very into it. And there's something that I love about going out like usually this time of night and watering the plants
yeah.
and just like watching them because you can really soak them, and there's just something so soothing about it. I don't know, like, and it wasn't always this way. I just became this way, and I really, really love it. I think it's so satisfying when everything grows
Yeah.
and it looks
Yeah.
pretty. And
I
I'm like, I did that. Not really, nature did that, but I feel that I
Yeah. I
helped.
am finally having someone hopefully come over and de-weed my backyard
Ooh, that's
because I
great.
have there's just this thing that's growing intertwined with my fence that's
Mm-hmm.
just it almost looks tropical like it's got these spindly
Oh,
like reaching out
yeah.
kind of like "Grah," and
Yeah.
it just overwhelms me and
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep up with it.
Yep. Do
So
it.
I'm like, "Hey, pull some weeds out for me."
I have an issue with my roses in that they're gorgeous, but they are growing so fast and they're taking over. And
Mhm.
I want to corral them so they grow like I saw this thing online where this person had them go up over the window and then up so they kind of just grew up and it looked beautiful,
Mm.
but I don't even know what to Google. Like I was like, how to corral roses. Nope, that's not it. Like everything I look at is like, and then when I go to trim them, I'm just like, I feel like I need a rose expert because they're so big. It's
Mm.
already taking over everything. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't know what to do. And then
If I had a rose bush, my whole yard would be roses because
oh
I'm
yeah, that's what
terrible at
happens.
maintenance. I'm terrible.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, this is the first time that I'm having someone come out and they call it soft washing my house because there's like dirt on the back and like,
Hmm.
just to clean the siding and my windows. And I'm like, I've never done that before. And I'm so
That's
excited to
exciting.
just have like clean everything. I'm just very, very, it feels very good. I feel like I feel like I'm on a vacation since
Yeah,
the semester ended. Like, even though my summer class started yesterday, I feel so much more relaxed than I did like 2 weeks ago.
that's great.
So, yeah.
Isn't it funny the things that excite us as adults? I know. I know.
Isn't it? It's very sad
It's
where I'm
not
like,
though. You know
oh, my
what?
windows will be clean, but
You know what though? It's a small thing that we get excited about, and that's kind of cool.
it's overwhelmed, like you said, it's overwhelming like when I look at the windows, like, and I see that there's dirt in there and I'm like, it's so disgusting, and I'm like, how do I even, and I bought a thing and it doesn't, like, so I'm so happy that someone else is going to come and like clean that
Yes,
filth
yes,
out because I'm
yes.
like, I feel like very bougie and very
A sign of maturity, your mom said.
sophisticated, yeah, where
I
I'm just
know.
like, I can't wait for someone else to clean my filth.
Yeah, and it's it's a level of class too, of like monetary privilege that, I mean, I get it. The first moment when I was like, I could just pay a person to do this for me
Mhm.
was just, it's wonderful.
My I get very overwhelmed very easily, and so if there's something that I can hand off and it's reasonably
Right.
priced, that it is like a gift to me, because even though it's like, you know, I mean, it's just like I'd rather spend the money on something else, but it is very nice to not have to worry about that. Cause
Yeah.
like I went out back and I looked at the back of my, cause I'm thinking about getting a patio because it's time. And I was looking at the back of my house and I was like, oh my God, it's so filthy. And then I was like in panic mode, like, oh my
Oh,
God, what do I do? And then I realized, like, my mom was like, oh, you can just get somebody to do that. And I was like, oh my God,
I
what?
know. It's good that you have a mom that tells you those things, because I'm like asking my neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm like his fourth child. I'm like, Bill,
It's
like, how do you
okay.
clean a house?
Yeah. Yeah. But like I would have tried to do it myself and then been done a terrible job and been stressed out and like,
Right.
so I'm because I said, well, I guess I could rent a power washer. She was like, no, like don't. She's like, by the time you get it, like get it home, get it back, like, and she was right. Just spend a little bit, it's just a little bit more,
Hmm.
but then the stress is off of you and then it's a thing you checked off. It's just like it's done.
I think my neighbor
So
has a power washer.
ooh,
Yeah.
ah.
I keep forgetting to text him. That's one of my goals. See
Yeah.
if I get a power washer, like do that.
Just be like, hey, bestie.
Hey Belle. He's great though. Like
Yeah.
he's an ex-firefighter and
Oh, cool.
is like has three kids who he just like sends out. They're an amazing family, and if I ever needed anything, I could just bang over there and be like, so
That's nice. It's good that
they're
you have
wonderful.
somebody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They shovel
You
my
need, yeah.
sidewalks
That's what I need. I
when they
need somebody
snow.
who's going to shovel for me. That's my next.
You need
It,
three strapping teens who play hockey to live next door to
I
you.
know it's all little kids right now. And like the thing is, like, I don't want to be, I guess, reverse sexist. I don't know what the word is, or like a damsel in distress, but there are men here who clear their driveway in about 2 minutes flat. And they see me struggling for like an hour. And you would think that they would even just like work alongside
Yeah.
me. Like, I'm not, or some of them have snow blowers. And you would
Jude
think
can
like they
do
would just,
Your mother said to send your 9-year-old son out to shovel.
oh, yeah, right. Oh my God.
It's time. Nani
Yeah.
says it's time.
Oh my God.
Train
It
him up
would
young.
be it would be a disaster. I mean, this year, yeah, this coming year, because this past year was a mess with snow. It was just never ending. And I
I
was
know.
like, I hate this so much. I'm too like I can't do this until I'm 60. I'm just putting that out there right now.
My parents absolutely sent 9-year-old me out to shovel. I feel like I did too. Once
Yeah,
you're taller than the shovel, you get sent out to shovel. I think we were like mowing the lawn. Ugh.
yeah, we had to help. There was no like you're not help like there was no like I'm gonna put my feet up.
Right. If it was
Yeah.
chores time, I like weeded the garden at the bright young age of whatever.
I still
So,
hate the smell of mulch because of my mom having us shovel it one time and it was hot and smelled so bad. And that when
really,
I smell it, I feel like I'm gonna vomit.
he really can do
Um,
it. Just show him. We're
he
gonna have to
can.
live stream his first shovel.
Oh my God. If you want to hear whining like you've never heard before, but I guess I just put on like noise canceling headphones and
Yeah.
go,
Teach them well
um,
and watch them grow. Exactly.
yeah.
But then there's people who didn't learn to do these skills, didn't get home training, and then they are adults who do not know how to do things.
It's true. And you know what? It's very bad that my son knows how to do nothing. It's my fault. It's my fault. He
Well,
doesn't
he
know
has two
how to
parents.
he doesn't know how to put dishes in the dishwasher. He doesn't know how to fold laundry. He doesn't help with anything. And I mean, I have a battle because when he eats, he leaves a mess. And I'm like, what do I look like to you? You got to clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
But like, that's I can't even win that battle. I've done a bad job, everybody.
I feel like you can win the battle because you control all of the resources.
I know. I think it feels
You could be
like
like, I am changing the Wi Fi password until you clean up your dinner.
that.
You have the
Right.
power. You have all of the power.
I
No one
know
just
it's really weird
yeah.
because no, it doesn't.
Just
Oh
know
my
but
God.
right, like there are adults like that. I had to teach my adult male roommate how to run a dishwasher and a washing machine.
Oh my God. I am the boss, but I know it's hard. It's hard. I love him so much. I'm doing it all wrong. It's
Well,
too much. It's too much. Cause I like when he was a baby, I just was like, oh, he's my baby. I'll do everything for him. And now I'm like, he knows how to manipulate because he'll just be like, oh, mom, I hate myself. And then I'm like, don't say that. You know, he's
over
just
cleaning
manipulating.
up the dishes?
Or just like anything. He'll just like if I tell him like if I give him one comment of like critique, he'll say like I hate myself.
Well,
And then I feel like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? My child hates himself,
do you think
I
that he
don't
really
want to
hates
feel
himself, or
that.
he's saying that because he
I
knows that that's
don't know.
gonna.
I don't
This
know,
is
but
where
that's
we
my
give
greatest
Gina very
fear.
hard therapy about her
This
parenting
is my
skills.
fear is that my child will like will internal he's a con artist.
Yes,
He
his
is.
own grandmother calling him a con artist.
He's so good at manipulation.
Well,
He
yeah,
is
so.
so good.
Well, now that
It's
he has that down pat and can use that for life, now we do everything else.
so basically I've taught him how to con, which is like what we talk about in the show,
That's
which is
great.
great. Like I didn't intentionally, but I
Just
showed him by being weak and ineffectual.
keep reading
So
him the myth of Icarus so he knows not to fly too close to the
too
sun.
close to the sun.
Listen,
Yep.
I've taught you how to con. Now I need to teach you when to stop. You have to stop it just enough.
Yeah, and it's just like so true when if you give him any sort of critique, it's like he gets so upset and he gets his back up. But I have to remember that he's messing with me,
Yeah,
and that he knows that I love him,
he does.
and that
He
I'm not
does.
a mean mom. And maybe if it's okay if I'm mean, it's okay.
You're not mean. You just
I
set
know.
boundaries. You're giving
Yeah,
him skills that he will use for the rest of his life.
you're right. You're
And like
right. This
every
is a
mom
good
will say, you will be grateful for this when you are older.
right. This is like when I say to him when we go to the salon and they use a clipper and he wants me to hold his head so he doesn't move. I say, do you think that when you're 30, I'm going to come with you and hold your face? But I think he really does.
I love
I
the
think
boy
he
who cried. Team Jude. Of course, Harrison is going to take Jude's.
Of course.
Like, of course.
That's my greatest fear is that my son just like will grow up and like not like me and but I guess whatever. I guess that's what therapy is for.
This from the girl who always had a stomach ache when it was time for housewives. This is the time we roast Gina for an entire hour.
And I don't like being roasted.
I know this is not
Mom.
like yeah.
Why are we dumping on me more?
I don't know. And me, I have no business telling you how to parent a child. My dog
No,
is
no,
not even
no.
well
I know.
behaved.
It's just that it's hard because I want him, I want him to, love me when he's older, but that doesn't mean like letting him get away with murder.
Paybacks. Well, I actually used to love when I was very little. I used to love doing the dishes with my mom
Mm-hmm.
because I liked the soap and the bubbles.
Mm.
So then, like if you do a job together, it takes half the time and then you can hang out more.
You would think it would take half the time.
Well, in theory, like once he actually does it
Yeah.
well, it
Yeah.
will like it could take
Yeah.
half the time.
Yeah, no, I do. I need to make him do stuff. Cause like I have somebody who cleans. So like
Right.
cleaning is not something he has to do, but like organizing, cleaning up after he eats and not leaving popcorn all over the floor, putting his clothes in the hamper and not on the floor, like those things.
Good lord.
Yeah.
Good lord. If he doesn't get those clothes in the hamper, they're not getting washed.
Oh my God. He doesn't even, I'm like just airing all my dirty laundry. Like he doesn't even know where I keep his underwear in his room. Like I have to go get it for him after he showers. He's like, Mom, I need underwear. Okay. And I'm like, what? He needs to do this
He
himself. He
can
needs to know where
dress
his
himself.
everything
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to be 10. He's such a prince. He is such a prince. It's
Maybe
embarrassing.
frame it for him like, big boys get to pick out their own underwear.
Yeah. Or
Just
just like,
what pair of brief color am I feeling like today?
or just like, you know what, dude? Like, it's time. Your mom, you don't want your friends to know that your mom has to go get your underpants every night.
Yeah.
because you don't know where she keeps them. Like, look, and then like, wouldn't you look in every drawer?
If I were motivated to solve my problem myself because no one else is going to solve it for me, yes, I would.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
my problem
yeah.
is
He
going to be
won't.
immediately solved, I probably
Yeah,
would not.
that's probably what it is. And like, yeah, he doesn't know. Like, he'll come back and he'll be like, I don't know where they are. Like, he'll be gone for 10 minutes, and I'm like, well, what? You didn't look? Like, there's only so many. There's a finite amount of drawers
Yeah.
in your room.
Here is, before we move on from roasting your parenting skills, here is a thought from a woman who's dated many men. Um, if he marries a woman, this is going to be the dynamic that he expects.
You're right. He's gonna expect her to lay out his underpants every night, and
Yeah.
that's unacceptable.
And do you think that his dad lays out his underpants? Do you think he's calling for underpants in the shower?
Oh yeah, I'm sure his dad
Oh,
gets
for
his
real?
stuff for him. I'm positive.
Okay.
So I think this is bad because you're right. What wife is going to be like? She's going to be like, or significant, any significant
Right.
other, wife, husband, whatever, is
He's
going
going
to
to be
be
like, I'm
like,
so glad to be dating someone I haven't worn underpants since my mom was over and got them for me.
I'm gonna
'Cause
need
I
you to
don't
come
know
and
where
hold my
they
head when
are.
I get a haircut because
Uh,
I can't keep it still. And then also I'm gonna need you to get me water all the time because I just like he'll come in here and he'll sit down and like I usually bring him his water in the morning, like when he's on Zoom or whatever, Google Classroom, and then he'll come in here and have a snack and he'll be like, I need my water. And I'm like, well, it's in your
yeah.
that's where I brought it. And he'll be like, well, I just sat down. And I'm like, but if you're thirsty, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Right. I finally say, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
It's,
That's
I
good.
gave it to you. I brought
That's
it to you
good. Good
this
Lord.
morning. Now you can go and get it. And the same thing when he needs a charger. Mom, I'm at 1%. And I'm like, get a charger.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like also as he grows into the teenage years where he's like, he will not let you hold his head at the haircut place.
Yeah. Yeah. It will end.
Like that
Those
will
things will
end.
end. And I'm
That
sure
will
he'll
end.
want to get his own underpants. But yeah, he's got to do that. Like he's got to get his own stuff. This like calling me for everything. It's not good. You're right. At 10, he's going to be 10.
That's
In
2
2 weeks.
digits.
That's 2
That's a
digits. That
decade.
means like I can do less.
Yes.
When you add a digit, you take away some of mom's
Right.
chores.
I also think if you survive a global pandemic, then you are also able to summon the wherewithal to go get your glass in the other room.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
just me. I live alone.
Yeah.
No one ever gets my glass. My
Me
glass is where I
neither.
put it.
No, I've never had somebody in this house, well, it's only me and him, offer to like get me some more water. That never happens. So
My love
I don't
language
know.
is acts of service. Like that's it. That's all you have to do is just get me more water.
Yeah. Just help with one thing.
Yeah.
It'll work. I'll report back in like a month and I'll let you know how it's going. I'll let you know which chores
It's
he's
fine.
taking on.
You are not beholden to me.
I told him that I wanted his chore to be to fill the cat bowl in the morning because all it is like scoop it and put it in. It's just dry food.
That sounds great.
And he gags at the smell, so he cannot do it. He's like, and he won't do it because he says it smells bad. And I'm like, okay.
My mother would have gotten me nose plugs, like swimming nose plugs. Like, here you go. Hold your breath. My mother sucks. So she's like the other end of the spectrum.
No, but I don't think that sucks. I think that's reasonable. I think my mom would have been like, too bad. Like, too bad.
And you know that she loves you, right?
Yeah.
And now you can feed a cat.
Absolutely. I've kept several cats alive.
There you go.
Yeah. Wear a mask.
Right. What are N95s that we've been trucking out in for? If not,
I have a little mask basket. He can reach in there, pull one out, feed the cats.
he can also work on his breath control.
Mm-hmm.
See how long he can hold his breath.
Thanks for the pep talk, everybody.
Don't feel bad. I don't know why we got on this topic, but
it's okay.
You'll
it's
be
okay.
fine. You'll be fine. If all else fails, just beat your child. I only say that because I know that you physically are incapable of doing that to probably anyone, and if nonetheless your child.
One day I'm gonna go out for the milk and then never come home, and it's fine.
Yeah. Then
Where's
who's
mom?
gonna pick out his own underpants?
This is so embarrassing for him that like I hope if the video lasts, I hope he doesn't see it and then, well maybe he should see it. Maybe he should be a little embarrassed.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's sweet if he's like, I want to do this special thing with my mom at the bar, but like she holds my head, it's so nice. But yeah.
Yeah. It's time.
It's time. It's underpants time.
It's underpants time.
Underpants time.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
So is it time to segue?
You want to try to do? You want to try one?
Yeah. So speaking of people who don't know how to adult.
Okay. A 9-year-old who can't adult. Amazing.
Speaking of people who it's close enough. Or who didn't learn the value of some survival skills. How about that? So this story is it's called the IHOP murders, but you'll see that they're planned in IHOP. They're not actually committed in IHOP. So
interesting.
that's the rub, I guess they'd say.
I'm fascinated already.
And it is the book that I read. Oh shit! Jesus, I'm back on my bullshit here.
I have IHOP facts to share if you need time to look it up.
Go ahead.
So from TikTok, I learned from people who used to work at IHOP that their omelets are not made with real eggs.
Ew.
You have to ask for real eggs. Oh, no poison, boysenberry. Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe they stole the free jellies.
Ew, what are they made with? It's not eggs.
Well, partly pancake mix, so they're not gluten-free.
Ew.
Yeah, so people who go to IHOP who have celiac, please, you can ask for real eggs and you'll get real eggs. But there's like an egg type concoction that the omelets are made out of. That's why they're so fluffy, because they're not real eggs.
I'm disgusted.
And they're not keto. So if people on keto go into IHOP thinking I'll have a ham and cheese omelet, it's not keto, there's carbs in it.
You're just having a fluffy pancake. That's disgusting. Having a fluffy pancake.
You are having basically a sandwich at that point.
Oh my
because
God.
It's meat and cheese and bread.
I am disgusted.
Is an omelet a sandwich? Twitter.
It is. It's not a sandwich.
It shouldn't be. If it's made with eggs, it's not. But
if it's made with pancake, that's gross.
I also want to say that you made a joke about Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity.
Yeah.
And I think that's Denny's.
Holy shit. Is it?
I think it is.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure
it is?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Like Moon Over My Hammy, Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. I think that's Denny's. I do not know anything about breakfast diners.
Oh shit.
It's fine.
I don't know why. I always thought it was such a funny name because it sounds like it does not sound.
It is IHOP. I'm a jerk.
Thank God. Okay. Nope, you're fine. I was just like, it's such a funny name because it sounds so unappetizing. Rudy Tooty, Fresh and Fruity.
It's
gross.
Choose your fruit.
Yeah. IHOP is. I mean, can I say it's gross?
It is.
I think it was good when I was like. I remember being a kid and liking it. Maybe it was different back then, or maybe I was just a kid with kid tastes.
Right. You couldn't tell that every surface was greasy because you were also greasy.
Right. Or you just didn't, you were just waiting for those chocolate chip pancakes. So nothing, you weren't going to look at anything but that.
I know.
And I think the reason why people go to them they talk about this. So the book I read is Without Mercy I listened to is Without Mercy by Gary Provost.
Okay.
So I did listen briefly to 2 other podcasts. I didn't listen to the whole things, but there were a couple of things I couldn't remember. And the book is about, oh God, shit. Sorry for my language. Sorry. Oh my God. It's like 9 hours long or something like that. So I didn't want to go through 9 hours to find out. So I tried to figure out where it would be in the storyline. So there's 2 podcasts that I don't know. I didn't listen to the whole thing, But one was True Crime Guys, and the other is Till Death Do Us Part. And so I just like hopped in there for a couple of details here and there, but I just want to mention that I did that because I didn't
Okay.
want to be unethical. But
Okay.
most of what I got is from Without Mercy. And I do want to say that Without Mercy is Gary Provost. It seems like, because I don't have the actual book, so I can't look at the liner notes, but it appears that he interviewed the main woman of the story named Dee Castile. It seems that he interviewed her to get most of the content for the book.
Okay.
Because of that, I just want to put it out there that it's somebody's perspective. It's somebody who's involved.
It's her story. Yeah. Yeah.
So then it's got to be flawed because people always like to make themselves look better
Yeah.
than what they actually are. And there are some things in the book that we'll talk about later that he sort of uses as an excuse. So she's an alcoholic, and we'll see this in the story. But he kind of uses that as her like excuse. And I'm not going to say anything bad about alcoholism because it's a disease and a lot of people suffer from it. However, just because you suffer from alcoholism doesn't mean you're a murderer.
The harm you do is still your own.
Yeah. And there are things that happen to her because of her drinking, but she also knows like she still is that person.
Yeah.
Like just because you're drinking, you're not that person.
There are so many alcoholics who drink because they can, so that they do not murder.
Right.
So I put the book, what I think is the book, in our Amazon Blacksmith.
Okay.
And it looks like, at least it might be the audiobook by the shape of it, is $0. So maybe the book is on Amazon Unlimited or something.
It might. I think I maybe got it for. It might be one of the ones I got for. I always skim the free ones.
Oh yeah.
But the book jacket was like, or not the jacket, but the description was like, what? It was this description was so crazy that I was like, yes.
Good. Okay.
The bad thing about this story is that it's not covered a lot. And so you cannot find a lot on it. Like there's an article on it's like Tampa something, but I didn't cite it because I guess apparently I looked at that site before and I reached my limit, so I can't look at any other articles on there.
I hate that.
And then I found some court documents, but again, like those are, I skimmed, so there's not a lot of information on this. There's a lot of reviews of the book, but there's not a lot of information on the murder. So a lot of it is like I had to take from the book. So we're going to start off with, as I mentioned, a woman named Dee Castile. She's born June 5th, 1938. Her dad's name is Tom Hostetler, and her mom, I don't remember a last name, and neither of the podcasts say the last name of her mom, but her mom's name was Peggy. And Tom was married to a woman named Ona, and they had separated, and he moved to a different part of Florida, eastern, like by Tampa, and he had an affair with Peggy. They were both alcoholics, and so it was that kind of thing where like we meet to get we have fun together, we drink together, we have this affair. She gets pregnant, and then because she's pregnant, he leaves his wife and marries her, and they try to make a go of it, but after a year it doesn't work out, so they divorce, and then he goes back and remarries Ona, which is,
oh honey,
I mean, Ona.
Some people's lives are just messy. This is just being a messy bitch.
Yeah. So like I said, both parents are alcoholics, but Peggy also has tuberculosis. So eventually she's just not fit to be a single mom. Maybe I should have used that as my segue. She's not fit to be a single mom. And so, or she just, not that she's not fit, but she just is not healthy enough to do it, between the drinking and the not feeling well. So she kind of goes off to a sanatorium, and her grandmother, her mom's mom, raises her for several years. And she actually, that's the closest and happiest, that's the closest relative that she ever had, and the happiest time of her life. She called her grandmother Mama.
Yeah.
And mama, like, so it's funny because mama's in her 30s, but she's already like raised her kids.
So she's mayor of Easttown.
She's mayor of Easttown. She's already raised her kids. And now she's like, she loves Dee, and she loves like spoiling her, but she also is kind of, wanting to live her life now, because I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
she had children at like 17. So she wants to go and
And
have
when you're
fun.
done raising children, you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready for.
Yeah, I'm done. Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
here's another one.
Yeah.
Um, so but she took really good care of her, gave her everything she wanted, doted on her. Like they just had a very, very close and special relationship. During this time period, Tom was in the Navy and in World War II.
Wow.
But when he comes back and Dee is about 8 years old, he wants the child back. And so like what can mama do?
That's a wild family dynamic for the 40s.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, like, good for them. That's progressive.
Yeah. Or maybe not.
Or yeah.
Maybe this went on and we just don't know about it. But yeah, so she's like, he said, I want my child back. And he lives in a different part of the state. So she's just like,
Yeah.
okay. And this was really difficult for Dee because, her mom had to leave, quote unquote, leave her. And now her mama had to leave her,
Yeah.
quote unquote, not really, but, and so it was a bit of a struggle. Um, and even though Tom, so the crazy thing is that Tom and Ona are still married. So now Ona is going to be raising
The mistress's child.
the
Well,
Jon
that's very
Snow.
the 1940s.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so I think I mean, good on Ona, because there's nothing about her that like she's not like a wicked stepmother or anything
Oh,
like that in
good.
the
Good.
story.
Good, good, good.
So they're good parents. Like they're loving and they're good parents, but the only problem is that Tom is still an alcoholic. And he would get very, very nasty when he was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like a Jekyll and Hyde type situation.
I would
And
say that makes someone a bad parent, even if they are great all the other times.
yeah, for sure. I think there's a struggle there, and that you have bad yeah, there's a struggle there, and you're not going to have the love, the support, the parenting that you need,
Right.
because you're not going to have your parent at full capacity. And if they're nasty when they're drunk, I mean, like I said earlier, like you're still you.
Right.
Like that's
right.
still you.
Right.
You're just drunk, right?
Some
It's
people
not
get
like you
happy.
become, right.
It's not
It's
like
not
he's in the bathroom going, "You're so pretty. I love you. Do you
Oh my
need
god,
a tampon? I have one."
She also says that Ona was a closet drunk. So I guess she didn't like, she wasn't like the dad who was just
That's a
like,
functional alcoholic.
yeah, she wasn't a body drunk.
Yeah.
But, and I don't want to say, because there are people who are non-alcoholics married to alcoholics, but you do see this dynamic a lot, which is why Tom had the affair with Peggy, because you feed each other's addiction. So of course Dee starts drinking at like 15 and 16. And unlike kids who start drinking, or anybody who starts drinking, she immediately likes the taste of booze.
Oh, wow.
She's not like, oh, this is rough, but I'm gonna I'm gonna make it work.
Wow.
She like likes it.
Wow.
And she doesn't get hangovers, which are like two things that are that's,
well, she's a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean,
but also like,
call me when you turn 30.
Yeah. She was also like got into scotch. She was a real scotch drinker. So like I think that was a little bit later on. I don't think she was like 15 and like guzzling scotch, but she just was able to handle it better, quote unquote, better than I keep saying quote unquote. That's going to be my quote unquote for tonight. She can handle it better, which I think then enables you to drink more at an age when you probably shouldn't be drinking more. But she liked to go out and have fun. And one thing that bothered me about the two podcasts is like, so according to the story, Dee was very young, beautiful when she was young. And as she ages, she changes, of course. And so what I didn't like about both podcasts is they kind of made fun of how old and kind of like rough she looked. And I'm like, I mean, I know there's murder in here and like there's bad stuff, but again, like I don't know. I don't know why looks have to matter.
Yeah.
Um, and I also like, yeah, who amongst us doesn't look like 20 when we're
Right.
40 and 50 and 60? Like that's
And
the
you know what? We saw how old 37 looked in the 40s and 50s
right,
last time, so
right. And
she's a
who
Philly
cares
40,
how
guys.
yeah.
It's
And who
fine.
cares how she looked? I mean,
Exactly.
who
Exactly.
cares? Um, so at 17, she ends up getting pregnant by a neighborhood kid named Harry Osterman. Actually, and what actually happens is that her parents want her to get an abortion. And they take her to get one, but she's too far along. Says at the
Oh
time, I
no.
guess there's a cutoff. Yeah. So the dad's like, okay, well, then you're going to get married. And he kind of like, is the word cajole? Forces,
Yeah, probably
talks,
forces.
forces Harry and his parents kind of into it. Like this is going to happen, a shotgun marriage, if you will.
Yes.
So they plan it, and on the day of the marriage, Dee goes over to pick up her groom, and instead of Harry coming out, a friend of his comes out, and he says, Harry doesn't want to marry you, and if you try to force it, I'm gonna tell we're gonna tell everybody that you slept with me and you slept with, Bill, and you slept with
Oh,
Ray and
that's
you slept with
awful.
James, and that nobody knows whose baby this is. So of
As
course,
though she even wanted to marry him anyway.
right,
She
Harry,
wanted an
you're not that great,
abortion.
so calm down.
Right.
Right.
Like,
um so of course this doesn't go with Tom Hostetler. He's like,
of
no,
course.
you're getting married.
Of course.
But the marriage was just on paper. Like they never lived together, they never raised a baby together. And in fact, um Dee has a little baby boy named Tommy, who she names after her father. And Tom and Ona end up raising him, and like the child knows that Dee is his mom,
Mm-hmm.
but they just understand that the parents raised him because they're more mature and can give him a good life.
Right.
And she's, she likes her son and she likes being around him, but she's not mature enough to have a baby.
Right. She's a teenager.
She's a teenager, and she and her parents are like, go out and be a teenager or whatever.
That's kind of great.
Yeah, I
Except
mean,
for the
it's
fact that they're
better
both
than
alcoholics.
yeah, it's better than suffering.
Right. Right. This
But
shouldn't be a world ending event for
right,
these two teenagers.
yeah. Um, but moment. Oh, she does have to drop out of school,
Mm-hmm.
because the school kids at school are giving her a really hard time, and she just can't get through. But she does get her some diploma over the summer, so she does graduate.
Good.
Um, but there is a story that she tells, the author, that has a really big impact on her, from when she was younger. And she like lets it color so much of her life, and it's really, we can talk about it. It's interesting because it's just one comment from her dad, but it shows you the power of a parent's words.
Yeah.
Because one day she was just hanging out. I think she was in fact ironing. I think she was like ironing her clothes, which is
Look,
so funny.
chores.
Like she was just, doing, and a neighborhood boy that she was like friendly with came over, and they were just talking while she was ironing. And then he left. It was really nothing untoward or anything. They were just hanging out and talking. And when he left, her dad was furious because she was, I guess, wearing a halter top or a tank top. And he told her that she was, quote, cheaper than piss because of what she was wearing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
those words just, I guess they just hit her. They hit her. She was like stunned by them, and she felt very, very ashamed. And she just never forgot that. And I do wonder if maybe there hadn't been some other remarks that like made this, led to this. But that's,
I
I
mean,
could, yeah,
yeah, he was very explicitly awful in the way that he phrased it, but that is society's general feeling about women who wear tank tops in the
yeah,
presence of men.
yeah,
And it burrows deep. Like,
yeah,
especially when you're young, when you're that young and someone, especially a parent figure, says something like that, it just gets in there and it
yeah.
becomes so fundamental to your entire sense of self.
And you can kind of see how she I mean, it's not explicit in the text, but she, like all kids, you want your parents' approval, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you ever, on some level, stop wanting that approval. The situations depending, but more or less, most kids, most children and adults still want their parents' approval, and that was a harsh rebuking.
Yeah.
And so I think, because like maybe it was just emblematic of the way that like she just never felt like she had his approval
Mm-hmm.
or support or whatever. And they don't go into other, they, when she says even as a nasty drunk, they don't go into any other stories about that, so it leaves a lot for you to wonder.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's not like she has other stories. That's like the worst story. I mean, all the other details notwithstanding, that's like the worst story. So you have to figure there's other stuff in there that she just doesn't, that didn't make the book for whatever
Yeah.
reason. So she gets her diploma during the summer, and then somehow she ends up getting an internship and then a job with the mayor of Hialeah, who is a guy named Henry Mylander. And this is like, this guy, he sounds like a creeper, but it's unconfirmed, so I don't want to say that he was, but he like liked having like young
Mm.
girls around, but there's
Yeah.
not any reported like shenanigans, hijinks.
Yeah. It's kind of like Mad Men,
So yeah,
and it's that
so
era too.
yeah,
It's gross,
yeah,
but it might not be actionable, but it's still gross.
yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
He becomes a father figure to her. She starts working as his executive secretary, and he becomes a father figure for her and helps her all the time. If she has a parking ticket, taken care of. DUI, taken care of. Like he just
Oh.
takes care of like all of her. Kind of, he's getting all of her water.
That she's
He's
bringing
like,
over illegally from across the
yeah,
border.
she's like, my charger's at 1%, and he runs in with four of them, you know. And so she really is like rubbing elbows because she's like such a got a high power job, and she's really great at it. She's smart, she's competent, she's like, she just does really great. It's like really, for some reason, just really in her wheelhouse. People really like her. Like throughout the story, you'll see just people just in general really like her. And so she starts like dating prestigious men and moving in like very elite circles. She just has like all these experiences. She's, you know, fooling around a lot. She's drinking a lot. She's like living, now she's under 20 at this point. Like
Oh,
she's
still
probably like
wow.
18 or 19. So she's like living in a fantasy world,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And then she moves over and becomes an executive secretary to someone at the power company. And I don't, you know, I don't know the, I should have looked, but I don't know the name of the power company. I forgot to check that out in Florida. Um,
Honestly, at the time it was probably Bell because they
yeah,
were a monopoly.
the Pico of Florida.
Right.
um, and she, oh, also I like, she was really confident, and so people like that about her. Um, but alcohol obviously fueled a lot of her life. And during this time when she's at the power company, she has a one night stand with someone like a very high powered, ritzy Miami businessman. Um, and she gets pregnant,
Mm.
and she goes to tell him, but he's in California, at like so, at some like horse racing thing, and she can't reach him. So the mayor gives her money for an abortion. And this time she's also too far along. So they do this procedure where they shoot air into the uterus, which is horrifying. Because a week later, I forget where she is, but her water breaks. And she actually like goes home and has to like pass the
Mass
fetus
carry
at
it. Yeah.
home.
Ugh.
And it's really painful and it's really traumatic. And Ona hears that something is going on, and kind of puts two and two together when she sees the next day that Dee is like really sick and not doing well. And she takes her to the doctor, and if she hadn't, Dee would have bled out because I guess the afterbirth was still inside of her.
Yeah.
And so she was really really sick, and she actually ends up with all this scar tissue and all like, she ends up very like with a lot of damage that she needs surgeries to undo later on.
Did the
uh,
mayor was how I'm it boggles my mind that the mayor was not able to find someone who could give her a safe abortion.
Right.
Because safe abortion has always been accessible to people with means.
Yeah, it's weird that he was just like, I guess he didn't realize that it was over the time, and maybe she just was like,
Maybe. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to go back to him. Because it's like I can see like her feeling like it's an awkward situation already, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point. So she was actually out of work for a little while, like a week or so, because of like her ordeal, what she had been through and how sick she got. And when she gets back to work, they want to know specifically why she's out. And
Ooh.
so she tells them that she had like what happened, and they fire her.
Oh no.
Yeah, super super
Yeah.
classy. And she gets really depressed because she loved that job so much.
Yeah, and she was good
And
at it.
yeah, so she's like obviously now it's not just a matter of drinking socially, she's like turning to alcohol
Yeah, to cope.
to like,
Yeah.
to cope. um a weird thing, and I didn't know where to put it, and the other two podcasts kind of shove it in this spot, so I was like, I'm going to put it here too. But she, at this time, I guess that's why they put it here, she gets into bowling, like really good at bowling.
Okay.
Again, this is all according to her story, so, but she like is like good enough to go pro bowling. But because she is a heavy drinker, she can't get a sponsorship, which
Mm.
seems unusual to me.
Yeah, they don't usually blood alcohol level test. Like they don't give you a the breathalyzer to play to bowl
To
unless they
bowl,
suspect something.
I thought drinking and bowling went together,
I mean, they do.
but
Was it that alcohol made her so good of a bowler? But you could
maybe
also
she
tell
was
that
like,
she was shit faced drunk.
I think it was this. I think it was not just. I think it wasn't the capability to. I don't think it was not that she didn't have the capability to bowl. I think it was because they didn't want to sponsor her and have her
Right.
like be the brand, the face of the brand,
And
especially
at the
like
time,
probably as a woman, right?
and today, even today, like a woman who has previously been fired for having an abortion.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah,
it's sad because like
it
at
is.
these parts of the story, she's losing out on, she's genuinely losing out on things that she shouldn't be losing out, other people
Right.
wouldn't lose out, or it's not, I mean, now you could sue that the power company to get her job back.
Yeah.
Now someone can help her achieve her bowling dreams. I lost her bowling dreams, that's why. So she could earn them. um so it's during little, I guess during this time or a little while later, she meets a guy. It's another one of these like rich powerful guys, Lester Wallace, at a cocktail lounge. And they end up getting married, and she ends up having the surgeries that she needs so that she can have children again. And she has a baby named Susan in 1966. And when she has Susan, she's sober for a year and everything is great. And she was staying home with her daughter and taking care of her. But the problem with Lester is that when Dee was single, when they were just dating, he loved good time Dee. But when they
Mm.
were married, he doesn't like drinking good
Oh.
time Dee. And
Okay.
this,
That's
yeah. And this becomes a pattern for her of dating men who are like big, kind of like strong, like physically strong. In some cases, powerful, later on, not really powerful. Um, Guys who like knock her around.
oh.
Uh, and I don't know. I mean, maybe you can draw a straight line to the dad. I don't know. I don't know. But so anyway, one night they were like bar hopping and they had an argument because he wanted to keep drinking and she wanted to go home and whatever. There was just some sort of argument. And they go home and Lester pulls out a gun, and I think he actually like physically harms her.
Jesus.
And when she calls the police, it takes 3 hours for them to come, but then they won't take her complaint because she was also drinking, but he was also friends with the cops.
Oh, wow.
But don't forget she's besties with the mayor.
That's right.
So she's like, I'll take that comp and then I'll cover it with mayor. And
Paper
so
beats scissors.
yeah, the mayor has Les arrested. And
Ooh.
then
Arrested
by
for domestic violence in the
yeah,
60s?
yeah. Who knows what happens later. They end up
Right.
they don't stay together. Um but so it's like the first pattern of like a male who's gonna knock her around, like a man that she meets as a drinking buddy
Mm-hmm.
that she marries. And then
Yeah.
so later on she gets a job as a dispatcher, and which is perfect because she wants her dream now, besides bowling, her other dream is to be in law enforcement, to be a cop. So it's 1969, and Dee's mom, actually, she's doing better, and she is married to an officer named Bob DeSalvo, who allegedly was beating
Mm.
her mother. But she calls Dee up and she wants Dee to move to Tampa. And so Dee does a trial run, goes up there, loves it up there, is really happy, and comes back home, and she packs up all of her things. But before she goes back, her mom calls to say that her husband killed himself and or
And
was shot after being abused.
oh, yeah. Oh,
We don't know.
oh.
We don't know.
Oh, blows black eyed peas, Earl.
Yeah. Um, so she ends up then eventually going to Tampa anyway. And then she meets another man named Charlie White, and they have two sons, Todd and Wyatt. Um, she goes to the police academy. They move to Miami, and she goes to the police academy, and according to her, she's top of her class. She's doing a great job. This is why sometimes I'm like, great bowler,
Yeah.
great secretary, great police academy person. I mean, maybe she is. Maybe she is. But it's a lot of greatness.
Mm.
Um, unfortunately, in the police academy, people start talking about how much drinking she does, and she is asked to leave the police academy. So
Oh,
she never
man.
gets to fulfill that dream.
That's a
And
bummer.
it's really sad because like she just needed to get sober. She just needed, and I know that that's easier said than
Right,
done,
right.
but she kind of just needed that support that she didn't have. There was
Yeah,
nobody sober in her life.
right. And it sounds like no one was trying to help her. They were just trying to get her out of the way.
Like, P.S. Mayor, no offense,
Right.
Mayor,
Right?
but maybe.
Maybe.
Because like she could have, really, she never should have lost her job with the power company. But even if she had, the bowling, the police academy, those things shouldn't have evaded her.
Right.
Um, like no matter how bad it was, like there should have been somebody in her life who could have helped her, and it's really sad that just
Right.
Um, so now she starts working at a gas company as a secretary. And her husband Charlie gets pretty sick during this time, and like he's financially stable, but then he gets really sick and isn't able to work for a while.
Mm.
And as you can imagine, Charlie's a drinker, so they're trying to support three kids. So it's Susan, Todd, and Wyatt on one salary plus alcohol,
Yeah.
right? So
Support three kids and two drinking habits.
so she starts doing this thing. I mean, I guess it's called embezzling, but she will. So when people pay their power or their gas bill early, she'll borrow like $50 from it, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it's due, instead of paying the $50 back and then being good, she would borrow from someone else's early payment,
Yeah. Yeah.
give the $50 to them, and then take. So she would just,
Yeah.
and then it got, as these things do, it got out of control to the point where she owed $14,000.
Oh my God.
And she gets, as you can imagine, fired. And this is definitely her fault.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You probably
This is,
shouldn't embezzle.
don't embezzle. That
Don't.
that taking IOUs is a bad idea.
No.
It's especially if it's not like you shouldn't do it anyway, but like if you did it once and you paid it back and no harm, no foul, like you got away with something that you shouldn't have gotten away with, and God bless. But if you have to, rob, what is the saying, rob Peter to pay Paul,
Right.
like
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
stop. I don't know, when you get to like $100, stop. I can't imagine, but
Right.
I guess because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so she has pretty much at this point run the course of available white collar jobs, because if she wasn't fired from them, the word is out.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
she's, all the secretary pools are going to know, and she's been let go from enough places that people sort of um know. So she now is working at bars and restaurants.
Which is great for an
Um,
alcoholic.
it's fantastic. And so she's bouncing from job to job because now she's at the point where she needs alcohol to get through the day.
Oh.
It's become like I need a drink just to get out of bed kind
Oh,
of thing.
honey. Yeah.
So she ends up divorcing Charlie, and then right away, another problem with her is these men. Like they're not men, they're not adding anything to your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're just like they're dragging her down, like they're both dragging each other down. Because she's not adding anything to their, like, honestly,
Yeah.
nobody,
And
no, nothing good.
that's the
Yeah.
problem of being an addict in like this social
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. You're meeting other addicts. That's who
Mm-hmm.
you're forming relationships with. You're not in a position to help each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And your addiction feeds theirs and vice, like it's just a recipe
Yeah.
for terrible. So she meets her late the her she meets a guy named Cass, and Cass is like the same kind of guy. He's not fancy at all. He's just a big burly alcoholic, who's violent when he drinks. So, but really nice when he doesn't.
Oh, well,
So good for Cass.
good for half the time.
Yeah. So at this point, she's living and working in this is really hard for me to say, Naranja, Florida. It's Naranja, Naranja.
Yeah, it's probably the Spanish word for I think orange, but probably in Florida pronounced in naranja.
They say it so sophisticatedly in the book, and I can't duplicate.
Do they
I
say
feel like when I'm
naranja?
saying it, I'm like,
Oh, do they pronounce
um,
it in the Spanish as naranja?
no, but it just flows better. And I didn't even know there was an N on the beginning of it when they, so there's like it's just he's just better at the
Okay.
he's just a better speaker than I am. So, or he practiced a lot
Hmm.
after he was doing unique New York, unique New York. He's like Naranja, Naranja. So Naranja is 35 miles south of Miami proper. So it's the kind of place where people who live in Naranja will just say, I live in Miami,
Hmm.
but people in Miami will be like, you don't.
So it's South Jersey.
Right, exactly. Um, and like I said, she keeps getting fired from restaurants. So eventually she ends up at the IHOP,
Here
because
we
it's
are.
sort of like, I think she started maybe, no shade on the IHOP, but it ends up, breakfast joint. And but she makes decent money there because it's busy. And but she's also been ousted from pretty much, I guess there's like a strip with all these restaurants, and she's like, like I think
Oh,
she was even fired from Denny's. So
oh.
this is like a last, like she needs this job. She cannot lose this job.
Good to know that IHOP will take you even if Denny's will throw you out.
Right? I would have thought it was the other.
I would have too.
Yeah, I would have bet money that it was the other way
Well,
around.
Denny's and their real egg snobbery.
Right? They have I forget what, the home run or the
Grand
triple
Slam. Grand
grand slam.
Slam.
I knew it was
Yeah, it was a
baseball.
baseball one.
It was like the triple.
The triple play? No, that's
The
Verizon.
triple. So she need the thing that I want to underscore for everybody is like she needs this job. She cannot lose this job because she's tried everything. She just needs to work. But like I said, she needs alcohol to get through the day.
Yeah.
So she's like drinking. She has like, I think sometimes she puts alcohol in an empty oregano bottle, which is like, mm,
That is not gonna fool anybody, sweetheart.
oh, it's also, I don't know, just the thought makes me sick. But then she also gets an iced coffee every day and puts scotch in there. So, and she like keeps it, I think she keeps it in her purse, but she also shares it with some other guy in the restaurant. And so, like, he sometimes pulls it out of her purse and forgets to put it back. Um, he should have lost his sharing. There's a lot of shoulds. He should have
Yeah.
lost his sharing privileges.
Yeah, if you are
Um,
not cool with the contraband and make us get caught, dude.
right. That's why she has the big purse. Come
Yeah.
on. So at IHOP, there is a man who is, oops, his name, he's 26-year-old. James Allen Bryant is his name. And he is managing the restaurant, but it's actually owned by his boyfriend, Art Venetia. Art is about 20 years older than James Allen Bryant. And to put it in perspective, Art buys the restaurant so that Allen will have something to do,
I see.
because Alan, he's named James Allen Bryant, but he goes by Alan, or the book has him go by Alan. Alan can't keep a job, is flighty, has very expensive tastes, has boyfriends on the side.
Oh,
He has
wow.
like kind of like a Cuban fetish. And so he wants Alan to be busy and happy. And Art himself was doing really well because he's already like an established dude. So he thinks that this venture, giving him like the management responsibilities of the IHOP, will like please him. Alan doesn't get a salary, but he's allowed to just take money whenever he needs it, which sounds
Okay.
like such a good plan.
Okay. Yeah, that's how you make a
um,
healthy adult who can function on their own.
yeah, yeah. And so the problem is that Alan has no self control. Let's say
Of
that.
course not. He's
He's
never had
also
to budget a day in his life.
he's also in love with a man named Henry Ramos at the time of this that the story goes down. So for some reason, like I said, Dee is like, they even at the beginning of the book have this woman who used to know her, who used to be like, they used to live in the same apartment house and get together and talk about like their kids and like, just like, as Jude puts it, lady stuff.
Oh.
This is a sidebar. I didn't tell my mom this, but yesterday I met my mom and my grandmom for lunch. And when we came back, he said, "Oh, did you talk about lady stuff?" And I was like, "Well, what's lady stuff?" And he was like, shopping, politics, what's on the news. It's like, is that lady stuff? But
I'm
okay,
glad that
sure.
politics is lady stuff.
I know. He was like, what's happening on the news?
Not like
Like,
dude stuff, like politics.
yeah, you want to talk about dude stuff like video games.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny, like that he like when I pressed him, he was like, I don't know what's lady stuff. Um, I guess stuff that would not interest him.
Right.
um, so she is because Alan's the kind of guy who's like super flirty. He like, he's, even though he's gay, he's like super flirty and flirts with all the young waitresses at the IHOP and jokes around. And Dee's in her mid 40s at this point. And so she is somehow like intimidated by him. Like she really wants his approval, but he doesn't like flirt with her a lot. Like he doesn't give her the attention that he gives all the other women. And she, for some reason, craves it. I guess you always want what you can't have.
Yeah.
And if somebody's being like, if your manager is being fun and lighthearted with your colleagues and not with you, you're sort of like,
Right. You want to be in the
yeah.
cool kids club.
And especially if everyone else is young and you're a bit older,
Yeah.
So so she tries really hard to get his attention. Like when she sees him pull up in his fancy new car that he just bought with money from the IHOP register, she like goes and puts her lipstick on and freshens up, and like she almost like has a crush on him. It's weird because in the beginning it doesn't seem like a crush, but she definitely again, it's almost like with her dad, like wants his approval, is like
Well,
a
he's an
little bit,
authority figure if he's the
yeah,
owner. Yeah.
and he's not giving her attention, right? That's one thing that she wants. And he's like a little, not mean, but like a little abrasive or dismissive of her. So of course she's going to like want that approval more. And everyone in the restaurant thinks she has just like a huge crush on him.
Mm. And they're
So
like, sweetie, can't you tell he's a flaming gay?
exactly. It's odd. It's an odd like pairing. So one day Alan stops in to just, grab his money for the day. And it's like it's weird. He uses it like it's his bank. Like instead of like going to the Mac, he or whatever, the ATM, he like goes in there and
Can you
like
imagine being like, I'm sorry, I can't break this 20 for you. The owner needed a mani pedi.
right.
Like, what
Right.
if you need to make change?
It's so bizarre. So like he basically stops in there to get money. So one day he goes in there and Dee is like, oh my god, she sees her drink that was left out. The other guy left it out, and so she's trying to distract him. And so he's like talking to her or whatever, and like but like busy taking his money, and he leaves. And then she's like, thank god. And then while she's taking care of customers, he comes back in for something, and then she sees him pick up the cup and smell it and
Oh
put
no.
it back down, and she's like, oh my god. So he ends up calling her the next day at home. It's her day off, and he says, I need you to come in and speak to me. So she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get fired. She like washes all her uniforms, irons them,
Oh.
folds them. Like she's like, she knows. She's like, I know this is it, I'm gonna get fired. And when she gets there, he asks to go for a ride in her car, and she's like so scared.
Right, like, what
But
is he going to murder her?
she just like she doesn't want to lose. It's like she feels like, how am I going to take care of my kids?
Right.
Like, what am I going to do? Where the hell am I going to find a job? Because like this, like she's driving drunk to work, so she needs something that's close to
Oh,
home,
right. Oh my God.
right? That pays decent, that she could like barely survive, and that like where's she going to go from IHOP? So
Arby's. But God help her.
we
Like,
have the
no
meats.
one.
You don't get tips there. That's the problem. Like
Oh,
she's
right.
relying on
Yeah.
the tips.
Yeah.
So he instead of firing her, he says to Dee that he knows about the bottle or the drink, but not to worry about it because people like them need to stick together. And then he starts complaining about his boyfriend Art, like that he's
Mm-hmm.
older and that he's boring and all he does is like want to stay home. Art bought this beautiful property, um and I wrote it down like 5 times. I meant to write it down like 5 times, and I looked it up. Coral Gables, I think it's called. It's
Okay.
like it's very expensive. It's rural, so he bought um 5 acres, and it's like, and he's like really into like he has like a greenhouse. His own Art has like
Mm.
a greenhouse. He's really into restoring old or church organs. Like he's like richer older man who's like very
Yes.
well established. Cuban, his parents I think were Cuban immigrants. Like he's just like got his shit together kind of
Yeah.
person, and he doesn't want to be out doing coke at a Miami
Right.
bar
He has
at
created his
11
dream
o'clock.
life and he wants to
Yeah,
live it. Yeah.
he wants to have a sherry and go to bed.
Right.
So he's Frasier but
Like
gay.
any
uh,
decent elder gay.
yeah. Which honestly he sounds fabulous.
He does sound
Like
fabulous.
he sounds um but
He could give me an Arby's to putter around that house forever.
I mean, I would take an IHOP. I would tell them we are absolutely serving eggs here.
Yes, real eggs. Damn the
They're like,
man.
I don't care what it costs.
I don't care how
we are
many
the
many petties I cannot take out of the till.
we are the IHOP that serves eggs. Um, so he just is complaining about him, and he says, "Look, the word around the restaurant is that you have a friend who will pay, who will like take out a contract to kill somebody," and she's like, "What?
Where? What?
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 What do you mean?" She's
What?
like, I don't know anybody who would kill anybody. And he's
Right.
like, oh, well, that's what I heard around the restaurant. And then
Why?
she thinks so she has this friend, another drinking buddy. It's a drinking buddy of hers and her husband's, and his name is Mike. And Mike has a running joke with Dee when he sees her. And that running joke is like, oh, did you divorce Cass yet? If you didn't, don't waste your money. I'll like bump him off for you,
Oh
whatever
God.
the word is. Like a joke, like a
Right.
very bad old man joke, right?
Because people who will actually do personal assassinations will joke about it in public in
Right.
front of the owner of an IHOP.
Right, right. So like so Mike makes this joke every time he sees Dee.
Christ on a bike.
And so I guess she must have referenced it or said like whatever, but people know that this is a joke between them, and for some reason the the comprehension level is not there.
Oh my
And so
God. Oh
Alan
no.
thinks, and so she's like, oh no, he's like a teddy bear, he would never hurt anybody. And Alan's like, oh really? And so Dee
Darn.
starts worrying because she doesn't want to lose her job. Her boss is asking her to do something and she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to lose her job. And she kind of spins it as like, I'll ask him to make my boss happy, but there's no way this guy's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Um, ba, 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 ba. Uh, so, oh, I have a note in here that even though Alan and Art are together, Alan basically, like I said, has a boyfriend, Henry Ramos, and Art is really only like his money supply. And they're in this like kind of toxic cycle where they break up, and then Alan would run off for a couple of days until he ran out of money, and then he
Right.
would go back and Art would take him back.
He gets that killing Art would cut off the money fountain, though.
You'd think.
Like you can't inherit it at this time. There's no gay marriage.
Right. Right.
This is why we have gay marriage, so you can kill your husband and inherit things.
But Andrea, you have the IHOP.
True, I guess.
And
Okay.
Alan is 26. Let's remember
True.
that. And he
True.
can't hold down any job.
True. True.
And he's also a drinker and a Coke user.
Yeah, I
So,
was gonna say too much coke in the
yeah.
back of Woody's.
So Alan is also known to pretty much everybody as a pathological liar, but I guess people put up with it because he's sort of like that fun, kooky friend that you
Mm.
party with. And so you're just like, oh, he's crazy. You know what I mean? Because I guess nobody feels like the lies are dangerous. So Dee wants Alan's approval, so she says, "Okay, I'll talk to Mike," and he's like, "Okay." Um, and the book says like basically Dee is an easy mark for Alan. Like he knows that he can manipulate her, and he
Mm-hmm.
knows that like now she knows that he knows about her drinking. So like, what can she realistically? What could she do?
Right. Right.
But I mean, not do what she ends up doing is
Right.
the answer. But but in I could see where you would make bad choices as to keep your job.
Right. She's desperate. He's
Yeah.
preying on a desperate woman.
Yes. Who he knows has a like weird crush on him, which
Yeah.
is the weird part that I can't. So Dee eventually goes to Mike and asks him, and he actually says, "Yeah, I do know somebody, um, and his name is William Wild Bill
Oh
Rhodes."
boy.
He also has a nickname, the Joker. So this guy sounds,
Why does he have two nicknames? Who needs two nicknames? No
I
one.
don't know, maybe
You
he's
need a
like
Western nickname and a card nickname. Well, I guess. I
the
guess that
way
works.
that these guys are described as like they're just like two like real hillbilly like kind of, I hate to use the word trashy, but like, you know,
I'm going to use the term
um,
Florida man.
Florida man. They're both Florida.
Florida man.
Yeah.
This whole story is full of Florida mans.
Oh, it's to
Just
the brim.
every single one is a Florida man.
So, not only does Wild Bill have a burglary record, but he also served time in the military. So he's got that nice, uh, combination of like tough, knows how to shoot a gun and probably kill people in other ways, and also knows how to steal things.
Ah,
So
but not
really
very
good.
well if he keeps getting caught.
Right. So they tell her it will be. Now this is the point at which, this is the only reason I brought up those two podcasts, is because I could not find the place in the book, and one podcast said one amount and the other podcast said another amount. So one podcast said that the amount was $2,500 to kill Art.
Okay.
The other one said 1250 to kill Art. Either way, it's not enough money
Right.
for murder. Like that's a very low, even
That's
for
so cheap.
80s time
Yeah,
period.
that's
It's too low.
at least 15 grand. I mean,
Right? I
you
mean,
pay for quality.
I'm thinking six figures, no?
Yeah.
I'm thinking you do it once.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Icarus. Again, Icarus. You
Yeah.
got to be able to get out and not do anything again. Yeah.
And so what it is they want half the money up front and then half and half after. And so she negotiates this, thinking the whole time like Mike is never going to do this. Like he's a jovial like pot smoker. Like he's never going to do this. He works at like an auto mechanic. He's
Yeah.
like he works in like and so she's just thinking like that they're going to take the money and then rip off Alan, and she's fine with that. She's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so so Alan, in order to pay his down payment, steals half of the first half of the money from IHOP
Of course.
to pay the down
No
payment
sale
for the murder.
button.
Oh, it's so bad. So and then like while he and Dee, one night Alan says to Dee like, come on, we're gonna go on for a ride. And what he actually says to her is like, why are we paying to have somebody to have him killed? We can just do it ourselves. Because of course, like, right, like that's like me. Why pay a power washer? You
Right.
just do it yourself.
You're a business owner. You can DIY things.
So he takes her to a gun store, and he says he wants her to go because she was in the police academy, so she knows about guns. And you're
I'm
gonna see,
surprised that no one here has a gun yet already.
and you'll see a pattern here because as they go into the gun store, he's forgotten his wallet.
I'm
So
sorry, did
he
he
needs,
forget the cash register drawer from the IHOP?
right. He had the money to put the down payment, but for some reason he forgot the money for the gun.
Yeah.
So D has to be the one to buy the gun and sign for it. Right.
D.
I know, D. And they end up going to Art's property, which is, like I said, private and very secluded and very like there's tons of trees and just like it's very, very like isolated.
Are they gonna get there and then he goes, "Oh, D, I forgot my gun shooting gloves. I need you to do it."
Well, Art drinks himself to sleep every night, so everyone is just, I don't know if it's a Florida thing, but it's too much. This made me sick how much drinking there was. I was like, ugh.
There is not one healthy person in this entire story.
Right. But Alan chickens out, and doesn't, and they decide like, no, we need somebody else to do this. We can't DIY this. This is not us.
You know what? Sometimes you just need a professional.
Right. And plus, like, you can't get your down payment back. Right. Like
Right.
you already paid half of it.
They already paid, and then they're like, "Oh my God."
Now, the other thing that Alan does a lot with Dee is that he always has drinks for her. Like when they get together, he's already bought her like a bottle of scotch or like her coffee and scotch mix. He takes her to really, really expensive restaurants that like she would never be able to go to. He'll even buy her clothes to wear so she can go to the fancy restaurant and like be dressed up. Like he's just basically plying her with alcohol and like gifts.
He's almost like grooming her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they wait about a week, and nothing is happening with what's their names, Mike and Wild Bill. I hate the name Wild Bill.
I know.
So
We'll call him Joker then.
That's worse. That's so much worse. So in between this time period, like Alan and where is it? Alan and Art have a huge fight. And during that fight, Alan tries to strangle Art. Like physically, like like strangle him. And it doesn't work. And Alan is so distraught, he goes in the bathroom and tries to commit suicide and then ends up in the hospital.
Oh.
So, Dee hears about this. Art actually comes in and tells Dee what happened. And like they're broken up. Alan's in the hospital. Art, obviously is like, my boyfriend tried to kill me, like physically assault me. And so Dee is like, oh, we don't need to have, we don't need to go forward with the murder because they're obviously broken up. Like it's not, we don't need to. She's like, thank
Right.
God, I'm just going to cancel this whole thing. So she cancels the contract.
I
Um,
guess.
and uh, she's like, okay, yeah, they're broken up. It's over. No need to worry. But then Art and Alan get back together.
Of course.
And Alan is furious
Because you
that
can't get that
she
deposit back.
cannot. We already established this.
They
So
put holes in the wall of that deal.
now the price is doubled,
Oh no.
and they say Alan has to go with them. So the night of the murder, they pick Alan up at IHOP. Dee stays at the restaurant. Oh, and by the way, now that I forgot to mention that in between, so when Alan was trying to get Dee to do his bidding in the first place, he was giving her better shifts, like primo shifts, and she was
Yeah.
getting more money and
Yeah.
tips. He was making her like lead, the like lead waitress or whatever bullshit thing it is.
Grooming
So
her.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, so he was just basically giving her all these elements to make it more lucrative for her, so that if she didn't do it, the punishment
Right.
would be much more severe.
Right.
So so the night of the murder, Alan, Bill, and Mike go to Art's house. Now, what's weird about the book is that he explains the murder from Art's point of view, which is impossible because
Yikes.
Art dies, so we
Right.
don't know what Art was thinking or what he heard. Um, and
I hate when they do that because it's so
I'm
obvious.
yeah, and I'm imagining that it's from like police reports or something, but I honestly couldn't corroborate what it was from. So I'm like just conjecture, but it appears that Bill slit Art's throat. There must have been a struggle because Art was found on the floor, wrapped in like tangled in his bed sheets,
Oh. Could they
and
not go borrow Dee's gun? Like, what did they
I
buy
guess
this
not.
gun for?
I guess not. I guess Bill likes a knife.
Maybe, yeah.
And they think Mike may have been holding him, but they don't, like, that's never whatever. So Dee, when they come back to the IHOP and tell her, and Dee can't believe that it happened, which is like, what do you mean?
Right.
You can't believe it. I believe it.
Well, we have kind of chickened out like twice.
Right. Um, so the next day, she and Alan have to go back to the house and clean it. And of course, it's disgusting and they hate it, which is like, yeah, no shit.
And it's all like dried blood at that point. You gotta clean it up instantly.
So they put his body in an old wardrobe in the garage and just leave it there, which, that's going to be for Florida
Yeah.
heat. That's going to smell
That's
beautiful.
gonna work for 25 minutes.
And then they come up with a story that because Art has some property in North Carolina, they tell people that Art went to North Carolina to his property to do, like, he's looking for more property or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And because Art is not really, he's very private. He doesn't have a lot of close friends.
Yeah.
Like, everyone liked him, but knew him as an acquaintance. Nobody really knew him really well.
Okay.
And because of that, no one really notices he's gone for a while.
Oh no! It turns out in the end he should have been going out to nightclubs.
Mm-hmm. That's the lesson that we
Art.
want to learn. So, while Art is in North Carolina, Alan basically cleans out his bank accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and he uses the money for something just so profound. He has parties where people just drink and use drugs, and he just lives way beyond his means. He just buys like expensive he's the guy that's like rolling up in like tight white pants with like the belt and the matching shirt and like the sun, like he's fabulous, like to the nth degree. He has the best car. he has the best drugs. He's having
Oh
all these
yeah.
parties. Um, he's treating his friends. I guess there was a big emigration from Cuba at that time. So and like he has this weird Cuban fetish. So he's got a lot of like young Cuban male
Oh,
friends
that's such
and
a
they all
shame.
party together. And he's yeah. So
The
he's
parties
just like,
must have been amazing, though.
oh right.
Oh my
But
god.
he was just he starts selling things that Art owned, like the organ, like some of his old organs that were like
Mm.
his pride and joy, and like just anything, everything and anything is like just being sold. And what's weird is that as when he's selling it, when people come to the property, he's telling people that he's Art Phoenicia instead
Yeah,
of
and
because
how would they know? Yeah.
they wouldn't know. So something that else
Wait,
that
although they
Art
think this 26-year-old child is.
right, right. But they don't know. Like some guy coming to buy an organ doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he's selling them for like the cheapest prices of all time. Like he's like, oh,
Oh,
you want this Cadillac? $10,
Alan.
you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
Alan.
Yeah.
You
He's
can
the
get
worst.
more money for your coke habit.
He's the worst.
Oh.
So Arthur also has an 84-year-old mother named Bessie who lives on the property in a trailer. The reason she lives in a trailer is because there's some friction between her and her son because her son is gay.
Mm.
And so Art loves his mom and takes really, really good care of her, but I guess doesn't want her living in the house.
No,
So
yeah.
he keeps her in the trailer, but he like takes excellent care of her, obviously.
If
And so
you are going to
now
be a homophobic mom, then that's
you
the
live in the
best you
trailer.
deserve. Yeah.
Yeah.
You deserve a trailer.
So D actually, so Alan is like, oh well, now we have to get rid of Bessie, and D's like, no, 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 no,
Oh.
we're not getting rid of this 84-year-old woman who's like a little bit senile. So so D's like, I'll bring her food. Like I work at an IHOP, and like you're the
I know
manager,
how to
so I'll
bring
bring
people
her food.
food.
So she brings her food twice a day, and at this point, D is essentially running the IHOP. And what's sad is that she becomes kind of like a default manager, and she's losing her great tips. She's actually making less money.
Oh,
She's
oh,
not get yeah,
oh.
she's
Because
not like
she wouldn't
doing
get the manager salary unless she was
right,
officially promoted. Oh, wow.
right.
That
And
sucks.
Alan doesn't have a salary, he just takes from the
Right.
register. So
Never do more than your work requirements. Never do more than your job
exactly.
description. Never.
So she's working harder for less money because Alan's never there. She's taking care of Bessie, who's kind of like in and out of it. She's telling Bessie, and Bessie keeps asking where Art is, and she keeps saying he's in North Carolina. And Alan keeps saying like we need to get rid of Bessie, and D is like we are not getting rid of Bessie.
Right.
I love her. She's really sweet. We're not killing an 80. She's 84.
I know.
Like we're not doing that. But like I said, he would take D out, alcohol, fancy dinners, and eventually he gets her to agree to pay Mike and Bill to kill Bessie, which is the worst and the saddest. And he has her do the whole thing.
Oh,
Um,
that's. Oh,
so by this point, she's very much in love with Alan because he's just treating her like. What's weird is that he's treating her to all of this stuff, but he's not splitting any of this money with her. Like all the money that he's
right.
getting from the like restaurant and all the money he's getting from selling things, he doesn't give her any money.
Oh my God. She only did
Yeah,
it for the attention.
yeah.
Oh, sweetheart.
She's making less at work.
Oh, sweetheart.
And she has these two sweet little boys, Wyatt and I forget the other one,
I know.
Todd and
Yeah.
Wyatt.
I feel. I know these people are terrible people doing terrible things, but I feel bad for them for how dumb they are and bad at
Oh,
doing these
the
bad things.
worst criming of all time. So oh, and Susan, her daughter, eventually gets wind after Bess. I'll do Bessie and then I'll talk about Susan for a second. So they pay them to go. The details Bessie that two men are coming to fix the roof, and Bessie's like, I don't want men in my house, but she convinces her it'll be fine. And then they end up strangling her, and it's the same thing where they do it from her point of view. So it's like all you know is that they were
Right.
strangled. They think Bill did it, but it could be they blamed each other in the end. So it's like who
Yeah.
knows. Part of the payment is that they were supposed to bury her, but they don't. They just leave her in her trailer.
Wait,
And
is
they
Art still in the garage? Ew. No one smelled it at the party?
No. And Dee is pissed um because they left her body in the trailer and they stole her jewelry. She had like all this really expensive jewelry and they stole it, which is like so shitty.
I'm surprised
Um
Alan didn't sell it.
I know. Well, they can't because Mike and Wild Bill stole it.
Right. I'm surprised he hadn't
So,
already sold it.
oh, I know, I know. Well, I guess he didn't want to go in there where Bessie was alive
No.
and be like, "I'm stealing your jewelry." um, so, just an aside, her older so Dee's older daughter Susan, they're very very close, but Susan moves out of the house when she's 11 because
Ooh.
she can't deal with her mom's alcoholism and
Mm.
she doesn't like her husband. So she ends up moving out and she's like couch surfing, like just basically doing it on her own. And she has her
Good for
own,
them.
like she does some casual drugs and she struggles a bit, but she's like eventually learns what her mom does and she is like, "Mom, Alan is using you." Like,
Yeah.
you're the old, like you negotiated these contracts, you bought the gun, like your name is on all these sales, like you're doing all this stuff and his name is on nothing.
Although the
If
gun did not ever get used.
Right, but still, like anything
But
that
yeah.
was like it was he was intending Dee to shoot Alan or whatever. So or he was intending to shoot Alan, but like have Dee buy the gun. So like on paper, this looks like it's all you. He doesn't have like really anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but and Dee is like, no, 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 not he would never do that to me, blah, 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 blah.
Girlfriend.
So now they have Bessie's body to deal with. So they call a backhoe operator. I'm not kidding, and they tell them that they're going to bury like something on the property, like trash or something. Um, but there's some kind of rock on the property that makes it really hard to dig. So
Mm-hmm.
they have the backhoe guy come, and then they put Bessie and Art in the hole like themselves, and then they call the backhoe guy to come back to refill it. And I'm like,
Um.
are you not thinking? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
So they run. So he's just running through the money and the property. The property is like totally trashed. Dee lives there for a while. Like she's lose. Like I said, she's losing money at IHOP. Susan is like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Um, they actually finally sell his 5-acre property to a guy who wants to buy. He's a landscaper, and he's like, this property is gorgeous, and this land is so cheap. Like I he knows something is up, but
Right.
he's like, I know I'm gonna regret this, but this property is amazing. Um, so eventually like every murderer in every story that you ever hear of, unless they're really really a psychopath, and even then they do it, you can't live with murder
Right.
on your conscience.
Right. It's
And
telltale heart. Yeah.
yeah, Dee really can't Dee really doesn't believe that she's as culpable as the rest of them because she didn't really do anything. She just made the contract. So she doesn't feel like she's like culpable, but she still has it on her conscience.
Yeah.
And so she finally confesses to a friend named Jackie. They go out drinking and she tells Jackie the story. And then they go home and they write it down because prior to this, um, Alan's been like kind of like off the rails. Like they first almost lose the IHOP and Dee has to go and like negotiate to keep it. And then they end up losing the
Oh
IHOP.
no.
Like they lose the guys. So like he's like out of Dee's like out of I'm not Dee. Alan's out of control. And her and Cass separate, and Dee is planning to go and visit him because they're still friends with her two sons. And Alan's like, no, you can't go. And you can't
Ooh.
be that far away from me. And Dee's like, starts thinking like, what would prevent him from killing me the way that he killed Bessie and Art?
Exactly.
Like
Except his poor follow through and his
yeah.
lack of money. But you know.
Yeah. So when she tells Jackie the story, she has her write it down so that if she gets killed, that there will be proof.
Mm-hmm.
So now Jackie is burdened with the story.
Right. No one has gone to the police.
Nobody goes to the police. So Jackie is burdened with the story. And so Jackie tells her friend Anne, and these are all waitress friends. So Anne is a former friend of Art who hates Alan,
Oh my.
hates
Okay.
him so much. So Anne was a waitress at IHOP, and when Art, this is screwy. When Art and Alan would break up, she would work there. But then as soon as they got back together, she would leave.
Girl.
He was like, yeah, go somewhere else. What, like, and what are you doing? Just like,
Right.
is Alan gone?
Did she not
Basically,
need to work and she just
I
wanted
don't
a
know.
pancake hobby for like
So the reason why she hated him was because she rented a house to him and he paid his first month's rent, but then was basically a squatter,
yeah,
like would not pay rent.
that
And he
tracks.
had, I guess, all this stuff in the house that like he didn't pay. Like he was just a shitty person who like squatted,
Yeah.
didn't pay any of his bills, didn't pay for his stuff, and like I guess left her really, really screwed.
Yeah.
So she hates him. So Anne is already suspicious. And after a party one night, she actually, because she's like, why is Art in North Carolina so long? Like,
Right.
what is going on? And she actually drives over to the property and she's looking around and she sees that Bessie's trailer is gone. They sold the trailer.
Ooh.
She sees that like his greenhouse is like all like the windows are broken and it's all like not taking, nothing's taken care of. The house looks like it's falling, like everything looks shabby. And she finds a receipt too on the ground because there's like garbage
Oh my
everywhere.
god.
I forget what the receipt is for, but she just like knows that something is wrong. And she actually does call the police, but the police are like, that there's no evidence. Like that's just like the guy
Yeah.
could have just left his property. Like there's nothing, there's come back when
Right.
you have evidence. So now um she with Jackie telling her, she goes, um the detective finally is taking her seriously because now this is like yet another
Yeah.
piece. So they actually go out to his property and they see stains in the garage.
Of course.
And they ask the new owner, like even though the new owner's there, there's still those stains or whatever, which the new owner wasn't like, blood.
Right. The new owner
Maybe
didn't
he thought it
go.
was oil. I don't know.
Did he not do a walkthrough of the garage? Because I'm sure that that smell did not come out.
Yeah. Well, he's buried. They remember they buried him in the
Oh,
hole.
I know. Oh, I
So,
know.
oh yeah, the smell. You're right. It
But
probably
he sat
stinks.
in that Florida
I know.
garage.
So, oh, so they go to his house and he says, "Is there any ground that's been disturbed?" And he's like, "Yeah, in the southeast corner of the property." And they literally go there and they find the bodies. Oh no, I'm sorry. They go to the backhoe guy because he's like the only backhoe guy in town. And the
Okay.
guy's like, "Oh yeah, I put a hole in and then I filled the hole." So he shows them where, and then because it's a huge property, that's right. And
Okay.
they find the bodies like 2 seconds. Um, and then they find out that Alan had been impersonating Art the whole time,
Right.
even through the sale of the house. Like he pretended to be Art when he sold the house. Um, so like it all rains down on them. Like it's over. The police know. Dee confesses. Dee's brought in, and she confesses
Good.
at this point. Susan is left to support her two little
Oh.
brothers. Um, and says that Dee says that she wanted to do the right thing. When the men are all brought in, eventually they all tell different stories. They all like, it's really weird because they all point fingers at each other, and everybody's story is like, he did it. But then they like pal around during the trial, which is like really weird. Like they hang out and like they're joking with each other, but then like, yeah, it's weird. So in 1986 is when they all went to trial, and all four of them separately get convicted of the two murders, and all four of them get the death penalty.
Holy shit.
So
D was just an accessory.
D is the first person in Florida to get the death penalty.
No, the first
Yeah,
woman or the first.
yeah, first woman.
Okay.
I was
Oh
shocked. I
man.
was shocked that she when they told her that they were going for capital murder, she was like, "But I didn't murder
Right.
anybody."
Right.
And I thought that was a little bit strict as well, but
Is this like Reagan tough on crime 80s like
yeah.
kind of a deal?
And it's Florida. Florida and Texas are like kill him.
I
But
guess.
luckily they appealed, and it was all four of their death penalties were overturned, and they got life in prison.
Mm.
And they say that she says that she tried to reform in prison, and other people confirm this, that she was help counseling others, she did clerical work, and like universally people loved her. Like
Yeah.
they thought she was great and fun and sweet and whatever. And she sadly, or maybe not sadly, depending on how you feel about the story, dies of natural causes in 2002. I could not find, it's very hard. I found like one picture of her. It's very hard to find because I really wanted to see what James Allen Bryant looked like young,
Yeah.
because she was so in like love with him. I couldn't find it.
Wow.
And like every time I tried to find a picture, it was like a picture of all of them. It was like in an article where it had multiple pictures, and I was like, I think this is them. I think
Mm.
on the cover of the book is a picture of D. Um, but it's very hard, and like there's I couldn't. It's very hard to find pictures of any of
Yeah.
them. It's very hard to find articles, and so that's why the end is sort of like I tried to wrap it up, but it's so crazy to me the lengths that they went to kill these two people for
Nothing.
nothing,
Yeah.
to use money for nothing.
Right. To
Like where,
blow, to have money to blow, and then,
yeah, unlike because he wanted to treat his boyfriend and like do coke and have parties.
which he could have
Like
done anyway.
imagine you live with a man and that's your significant other, and that's all his life was worth to you. And what's sad is that if he had had a tighter circle of friends and wasn't so reclusive,
Yeah.
that James would have been caught so fast.
Yeah.
The only reason that it lasted quote unquote so long, like because they were idiots. Everything they did was very stupid.
I know. I
um
know. Oh
uh
man.
yeah, it was like transparent. Everybody knew what was going on. Like people at the IHOP were like, "Oh, James Allen killed Art, right?"
Oh
Like
man.
everybody was like knew what was kind of going
Oh
on,
man.
but couldn't prove it. And it's just it's wild because the book tries to really spin it like that it's Dee's alcoholism, like, and
No.
I do
No.
see
No.
that, but I also think what's also weird is that the book does mention a couple times that like people who were in meetings with her, like buying the house, buying the other stuff, say like she was in total control and seemed like she was in charge. So there is that question of like,
Mm. Well, she does have experience doing that kind of executive
yeah,
secretary kind of stuff.
right. So you wonder, was she acting
Right. Yeah,
or
you are also saying that this story, the book, we only have her
we
recollection.
only have her point of view and there's not a lot of information, which is weird because this story is so crazy.
I know.
I feel like there should be so many. I feel like I don't know why this one isn't so covered because you have like such dumb dumbs.
Oh my god. It's almost like it's a lot worse then, but it's almost like what was it, the Barbie bank robbers or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's just oh my god.
I know. And I can't, the mom, I feel so bad for that little mom and for Art because like
I
he just
know.
deserved to enjoy it. Honestly, like I felt bad enough for him when he kept taking Alan back. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
sell that IHOP.
Right. Like what's so great about Alan that you're going to go through all of this?
He wasn't, he was like a liar. He was a drinker. He had a boyfriend. Like, I don't understand. Maybe he just felt lonely and just felt like, you
It's
know,
also, as far as I know, the 80s were the first time that gay culture kind of started to emerge, I think, from what I know.
I don't know.
So
I
maybe
don't know.
like there was some self-loathing or some closeting issues or like that, and that was why he wasn't very social. I don't know. I'm
I
just
think he also felt, I mean, I'm guessing, this is a total guess, but he might have also felt like I am in my 40s. Like I have this guy in his
right.
20s. Like, and if I just give him money, you know what I mean? Like who else? And he knows me
Yeah.
so well and we've been together. But they would have like really bad fights and there was a lot of like violence and like it just seems like Art could have done so much better. It's sad, and
Yeah.
what's sad too is like that I know the story is essentially Dee's story, which is, I would love it to be Art's story and Bessie's story.
I love Art. He
Yeah,
seems wonderful.
he does. He sounds wonderful, but like in deep need of good friends and like a therapist to be like,
Yes.
this is toxic.
Yes.
You have a gorgeous home. You have money to live on your own. There are
Leave.
men your
Yeah.
age, or
There
even 10 years younger,
there
or
are other
even
gay
20
men in
years younger.
Miami.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you can
Even
find
men
another little twink to spoil.
who's not, excuse me, who's not going to kill you.
It's not gonna, I know.
Sorry.
Oh.
So it's just like so bizarre, and how Dee got pulled into it.
Yeah,
The way
because
they spin it is that Alan is really like a psychopath in my,
yeah,
yeah, but I don't know, like, how true is that?
right. Although, I mean, it kind of bears out for me when you think about how they did it for basically nothing. Like, he just felt like killing this guy. Like, he was never going to inherit. He would have control of all the money, but, like, it was only going to be temporary.
Right.
They broke up. He got back together. It was the money fountain. Art would have let him live that way for the rest of his life.
I think he thought, like, oh, I'll just, the IHOP provides my money.
Mm.
I'll just keep doing that. But what he didn't realize is, like, you have to pay. You have to pay IHOP, like, you have
Yeah.
to pay as a
You
franchise. You owe
can't,
them money.
yeah. You can't
It's not just an
take money.
ever, just a stream of money coming in. But I don't think
Right.
he was that. I think he was street smart, but I don't think he was like smart smart.
He was definitely not business smart. I mean,
No, because like, yeah, because like it didn't occur to him at any point that, oh, I'm just going in there and using this as my personal bank.
right. Right.
uh so it's just like, and like, honestly, the way the book reads is that you feel like they want you to feel bad for Dee, but like, I'm also like, you set up a murder. You can't tell me that I'm, you can't tell me that at some point, I mean, does she deserve the death penalty? No,
No.
but she's complicit and she doesn't stop it. And she doesn't, like, you have to assume that if someone asks you to kill somebody and then you ask somebody else and they say, yeah, I know somebody, like, that's where you stop.
Yeah.
Actually, if somebody asked me to help them kill somebody, that's where I stop.
That's where I stop. Yes.
That's where I'm like, no.
Immediately forget their number.
And it's hard because I get it. Like, she felt desperate because she
Yeah.
needed that job, and he was holding, and she probably felt like there was nobody that she could go to, because what are you going to do? But at the same time, yeah, you just can't go along with murder,
I
right? Like, what do you do?
And for nothing, she didn't get a cut of anything.
Right.
It's just, oh, it's so sad. It's so sad.
It's approval. It's that, like, the same approval she wanted from her dad.
Yeah,
And
it
it's just,
really is grooming. He groomed a desperate woman 20 years older than him.
yeah, just like he groomed Art. He
Yeah.
did the same thing to both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad. Like, yeah, he would just make her feel like they were like best friends and family and that he loved her, and it was all a lie. And I think she was smart. I think her realizing that she was probably going to be the next one is the only thing that saved her.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad someone finally told the woman who hated Alan. Or God knows.
I was waiting for someone to hate him so much. I was like, why does everybody like this guy? He's the worst. Like, I hated him through the whole story. He is the most contemptible. And like, even the wife beaters, I was like, they're not as bad as this guy. And then finally I'm like, oh my God, one person gets it. But then this poor woman just comes back to work I'm like, you're desperate too. Where's the
Right.
like, it really paints a very unflattering picture of that area at the time.
Right.
I have to admit, like,
There are IHOPs in Miami where you can probably get better tips.
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It's sad. It's sad to me that people
It's
live
just,
like that.
it's
And
just
like,
Florida man's all the way down.
but like, why is there such a high concentration there? I don't get it. Does anybody watching have any idea?
No, I
What is
don't
it
know.
about Florida?
What is it about Florida that's very specifically Florida? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, deep poverty does things to
Yeah,
the ability to function.
the transient
But
nature, like, it's warm. It's like, it's warm, so you need less. Like, I'm just thinking, like, you don't need winter clothes. You don't need, like, you need clothes for basically one season.
right,
um the homes are cheap, like it's cheaper to live.
Yeah, there's no property tax, right? Or something.
I don't know. My brother said like you could probably survive on like 75% of your like what you make, you could probably survive on 75% of that in Florida, or
Oh,
maybe a little bit less.
oh wow.
So he said like it's just not, there's something about it. Like I can't put my finger on it, but it's like a very, it is definitely transient, I think. Like people come and go. Like nobody's from Florida, or very few people are
Yeah, there's
from
that too.
Florida. Or if you are, it's like new, it still kind of has that new feeling. It's cheaper to live. And then like what? What is it?
There's just like alligators everywhere, and that'll make me lose my mind.
And
Every
like those
body of
crazy
water.
lizards. Yeah.
Yes, every single body of water has an alligator in it.
Oh my God. And then like I don't know, like I like my dad lived in Orlando and he was very into that drinking culture as well. And I'm like, is that just the standard there, that it's like Jimmy Buffett all the time, where you're just like drinking and
Yeah.
partying? Like that doesn't get old for people? Like, is that the way of life there because it's more laid back?
I
Like
mean, yeah.
can't, I
You
don't
kind of,
get it.
I wonder if a teeny part of it is that you never have the winter to kind of drive you back into your house. It's
Right.
always just so nice out. You can always just be outside with everybody doing everything. Whereas when we're in the
Maybe.
middle of February, we're like, it's sleeting. I can't leave my house.
Yeah, it also grizzles you, like where you're
Yeah.
just like, ah, I hate everything.
Yeah.
And then like there's no real like city like there is here,
Right.
right?
There's
Miami, I
there are
guess.
yeah. Miami, Tampa Bay, right? Um
Those aren't like New York. Like you're not, I don't know what it is.
well,
I
there's
can't
nothing
put
like
my
New York.
finger on it. What the hell's wrong with you, Florida? And I like you,
No.
Florida. I like you a lot.
Maybe it's
Uh
just being a peninsula.
maybe.
Maybe it's being shaped like America's dong.
I
Why?
don't know.
Stop turning my ring light. I don't want everyone to see the crevices of my face.
Nobody's conjecture. Everyone left because my story was so
Oh
boring.
no. I know it was great. There's 10 people here.
Okay,
Why our
nobody's saying.
Florida? Why our
Maybe everybody
Florida?
loves Florida and they're secretly like, I hate
We got
you.
9 Floridians like,
Like you son of a bitch. You know what's weird is that his property sounded so gorgeous.
I
I was like, I
know.
want to go there. They even had a name for it, and I could not find the name. It was like they have like a nickname for the area. Oh, and what's funny, the landscaper was like so brilliant because he was freaked out because now his property was like a murder property, and
Right.
he was worried about, oh my God, I put everything I have into this landscaping business and now I'm going to tank. And so he makes up this story where Art's dog like comes back and is looking for his owner and is sad and he doesn't know what to do with his dog. So all of these people start reaching out to him that they all want the dog, and he just made it all up. Like there was no dog,
Oh,
but it
what?
it because people are so crazy about wanting this dog who's like the sad little, he makes it like this sad cute little dog who wants his like like sad for his owner, that like when I guess whenever you did a search for it, that's the story that would come up first. So he like
Oh, wow.
as a genius, a marketing genius, figured out a way
He did
to
SEO before SEO existed.
exactly, he
Amazing.
figured out a way to get the heat off of his, like now instead of murder property, it's like cute little dog property.
Harry says the humidity is what is makes Florida Florida.
It might be.
It could
It might
be.
be. It is crazy. The humidity is crazy. You would think with all the beauty they have there, like there's just everything's like so gorgeous, gorgeous landscaping, the beaches. You think people would be chill, but it's like,
I don't know. I don't know. Some people are chill. Some people ride their tractors through the McDonald's drive-through. That's
right.
that's our
That's
nobody.
that's the place I want to be. But I don't know, for some reason, like yeah, you just get like the absolute bananas.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Florida. I'm sure there's been a think piece or two. I
Yeah,
don't want
I'll
to
have to ask
hazard a
my brother.
guess.
Yeah, I have to ask my brother. Maybe
Yeah,
he'll have an
ask him
answer.
why. Why Florida? Ugh.
Why so crazy?
That story is, oh my god.
I
It
know. I've
has
been really lucking
everything.
out with finding books that are like, you know what it is I read the description, and if it's absolutely batshit crazy,
Right.
I'm like, yes.
Oh, there was glamour, there
Yeah.
were parties,
Mm-hmm.
there were people being deceived, there are people
Mm-hmm.
we feel sorry for but are also terrible. There's a clear villain.
There's also a section where they talk about the Cuban immigrants or emigrants called they call them the Marielitos or and I tried to look it up and I was confused and then I heard a description somewhere else and it didn't sound like that person had any understanding
Oh, that could be
of
true.
what it was. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna talk about it, but that might be
Yeah.
something that you look into because I guess in the 80s there was the biggest like influx of uh
Yeah.
Cubans.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
almost
yeah.
said Cuban Americans. They were Cubans and they
Well, they're
came over in
Cuban
the 20s.
Americans now.
Yeah, and that's
But
why
yeah,
Florida
yeah.
has such a high Cuban population is
Oh,
because
yeah.
of
Oh,
this
yeah.
one particular like thing. But I didn't really one of it sounded one of the explanations sounded a little bit racist, and I was like,
Could be.
I'm not gonna tout that if it's not correct.
Yeah. Could be racist. Could totally be
Oh
racist.
yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? You gonna contract some murder tonight?
Yes. I am going to put some scotch in my iced coffee, get together with my best gay, have him
Mhm.
ignore me, and then go home and cry. Oh, D,
I
man.
know, I know. The drinking in this book made me like I'm not even a drinker. It made me physically ill to
Yeah.
think of all the drinking. I was like, these people need
There's
like
no one that is not an alcoholic.
they need like a fairy godmother of detox in there just
But
to be like clean
sometimes
you all
there's
out.
just nothing else to do
Mm.
around there. Like when where I grew up, there was only two bars. One of them had no windows, so that's what that kind of bar was.
Mm.
Um, and it's now or was a few years ago the place with the highest overdose rate from
Oh,
opiates because there's nothing
yeah.
else to do. There's not a movie theater. There's just like some
Yeah.
strip malls. There's a diner, but like there's not great restaurants. You have to go out of the town limits for all of that. Everything is
Mm.
such a big drive away, and there it's a middle class suburb. There are nice houses, there are
Mm.
nice schools, people have money, and they have nothing else to do, so they did drugs.
Right. I think there's a lot of poverty in a lot of pockets of Florida, and I wonder if that has not that poverty leads to any of these things, but I wonder if it's the same thing, like a boredom out of not having, the money to go do the
Yeah.
things that you want to go do.
And Dee was kind of set up to fail by just nature. Her parents were alcoholics,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so
She just grew up in a time period like sadly sometimes it's the time period like now she would not lose that job at the
right.
power company and that would change her whole excuse me her whole life.
Oh, hold on. Cat knocked the mouse off.
Yeah,
Now.
she would have continued to be an executive secretary or she would have gotten into law enforcement maybe like
Yeah. And
she would have had other
she would
opportunities.
have had children when she wanted them, ensuring that she was probably a little bit better able to
Yeah,
care for them monetarily, and she wouldn't have been so desperate with her job.
right,
I think that there also may have been mandatory like rehab or something,
right.
especially if like someone puts in a child welfare complaint, like their
Mm-hmm.
mother is an alcoholic, you have to go to rehab.
Right. And I don't think you can lose your job just because you're a drinker like people have been talking about it. I think that they would have to try to help you in some way.
Well,
Especially
now,
if there was no incident. Like it's not like there was an incident in the police academy that we know of. She just people talked and so that was it.
well, that we know of.
That we know of. That's the other issue with this story is that we only know what Dee said and I'm sure people in her life were interviewed as well but so like most of the story is probably true but some of her inner thoughts or motivations
Yeah.
who knows.
I also think that the idea that you can't fire someone for being an addict is also relatively new.
Yeah,
So at
yeah,
the time you probably just could be like, "Oh,
right,
you're an alcoholic piece."
right, exactly. That's what I mean, like if she was just born in a different time and maybe like or if her dad didn't take her back from mama,
Yeah, where
you
did
know
Mama go? I guess she
mama
lived too
just
far away, right?
Yeah, and then I think she just was out of her life, which is
That's such a
weird.
shame.
But it's just like, yeah, there's so many that's the thing that gets me, is so many opportunities in this story for her path to be different.
I know. And she seems like she was such a wonderful person who had a lot of
Yeah.
promise. Like
Yeah.
she parlayed a teenage pregnancy into a GED and a high powered job for the mayor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, I feel bad for what would have been.
I know, me too. It's a real shame.
I feel bad for her ghost ship.
Yeah.
It's
and
a
and and what happened during this time, but also what happened before it, like just the men she chose and just all the decisions that she made. Like it just nothing really went right. Like nobody wants to end up where the best job you could get is the IHOP and
I
you
know.
just do anything to keep it. Like that's not what anybody wants for themselves.
Right, being so desperate that you have to murder someone to not lose your IHOP job.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And like the pain she feels about disappointing her, especially her two youngest boys, because like there were places in the book where she like takes the day off and they go do stuff together. Like she really loved her kids. It wasn't like
yeah,
they were really a big part of her life. And in the end, that was her, the saddest thing is that she disappointed them the most. But it's like, you know, I don't know.
I know. I wonder also if Alan was probably like the nicest man who ever paid attention to her.
I
Like
don't
he didn't
know.
beat her.
Right. I mean,
He didn't want
he did,
sex from her. Oh, he did.
he was treating her, yeah,
Right.
perfect, taking
I
her
think
to
you did say that
restaurants.
too. Like she's
Yeah.
getting the attention that she had
Mhm.
always deserved from men.
Yeah, it just was for he was that's probably why it worked, and he
Right.
probably knew that it would work.
Oh,
I
D.
know, I know. It's sad.
That's sad.
It's sad, but then also like poor Art and Bessie.
I know. I know. Poor Art and Bessie.
Like especially Bessie. Bessie had no say in this. She was just like an old lady living on her son's property, like, and just because she was a little homophobic, like because that was the time period in which she grew up, and she was Latin, so like especially,
Conservative. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, like she doesn't deserve to be strangled. Like she
No,
deserves to
no.
live out her years, and so sad,
I
so
wish
sad.
I wish so in the movie that I would write of this,
Yeah.
the Law and Order episode that I would write, since we're not basing that in reality, they would go over like he'd be like, D, we're gonna go do it today. Come over to the house. And then her and Art become absolute instant best friends.
Yeah.
He helps her get sober enough. Um, she brings the kids and like basically they have this wonderful platonic relationship. She loves Bessie. Bessie becomes the kid's grandmother basically,
Mhm.
and she finds that she has an affinity for growing plants or something,
There you go.
and so she
Beautiful
sells
story.
Tennessee hams and roadside jams, and
Yeah.
Alan is just carted off to wherever.
This is the ultimate Hallmark
He's
movie.
put in a dinghy and sent back to Cuba, or like to Cuba in the opposite direction of refugees. Um,
I know. You know, I
yeah,
can't honestly can't believe there isn't a movie about this. Like there should be. This is a if this isn't a movie of the week, like
I know.
movie or like a Hallmark movie, I can't. Like it's so crazy,
It's so there's so
and there's
much.
so much like like potential for like serious, but also like a little bit comedy.
Oh yeah, you can put Dylan McDermott anywhere in here.
Oh.
It would just be days, just days.
Except turtlenecks, you cannot do turtlenecks in
You
Florida.
cannot do turtlenecks in Florida, but the deep V possibility.
Maybe he would be Art Venetia.
You know what? Yeah, because then and he would be his whole costume would be just like a silk kimono
Yeah.
and nice trousers and no shirt and like a
Yes.
big
Oh my god.
necklace
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like a fancy cocktail.
Who would be James Allen Bryant then?
Um, I want to say someone like James Charles, the YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like so very maybe a Timothy Chalamet, but he reads too nice
Mhm.
to me.
Yeah. You need somebody a little with a little more grit.
Like who's it? Like an Ansel Elgort.
Oh
Who is
yeah,
it?
yeah. That would
Miles
be cool.
Teller.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dylan. Darren Chris, who played
Oh my god, I was
right.
thinking that and I was like,
He
he's
might be a
too
little
sweet.
old now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what I mean, like years ago. Yeah.
But that's the same
Yeah.
kind of like
Yep.
character.
Yes. Because you need him to be devious. You need to not like him. Like he's unlikable.
And Kate Winslet is D.
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah.
But like from Delco.
Right. And she had the Florida accent is pretty close, actually.
Oh my gosh.
uh,
I love this movie.
and everyone is drunk the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get like Macallan to sponsor it. The
Mm-hmm.
product placement from every liquor brand that ever existed. A rum and Coke, Coca-Cola. We can make $1 billion.
Yeah, nobody's drinking White Claw in this. It's all hard stuff.
Dylan McDermott in a pork pie hat, please. Of course. Listen, when
Actually,
it's time for supper, you dress for dinner.
Actually, you know what? Henry Ramos drinks White Claw, the boyfriend.
Yes.
He's definitely the White Claw drinker.
Yes. There are, yes. He is, yes. He has flowered rompers. Yeah. Like the man, him romper, whatever. That's just, they're short. Yeah. They're tight. He looks amazing. He has a, like a sneaker thing.
He can pull off a capri, like, no problem.
Yeah. He is going to brunch in that romper.
He can wear a half shirt and it's not like it looks like a crop top.
Right.
I call him half shirt. How old am I? A crop top. And you're not even phased. You're just like, I would wear that.
Right. And when he goes to the club, he wears the mesh shirt. Yes. But it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like
everything that Henry Ramos, it's so funny because that's exactly everything Henry Ramos wears and does is stylish and awesome. But also you hate him because he's the reason why poor art has to go. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking like the guy who played, and he's way too old, but the guy who played Charlotte's gay best friend in Sex and the City.
Oh yes, that's
like that kind of like always stressed out. Like you feel like always just like I'm thinking of 9 different TikTokers and I can't think of any actual actor.
It's so funny because I feel like this story needs a movie. Somebody make it, please. It's so good.
Let's write it. Let's sell it. Do it. Nobody make it. It's ours now.
Crime and Cookies at IHOP.
Presents. It's our brand. It's pastries and murder.
We might have to change the name. I don't know. You might. IHOP might not like it. I was trying not to put any IHOP imagery in our thing because I was like, oh, what if that's too close?
I think they're just happy for the attention.
What's sad is that when I typed in IHOP murders, like more than one incident came up. It was like, oh
no. I also feel like you could call it the Waffle House murders and Waffle House would not care at all. Yeah. They'd be like, just happy for the attention.
But yeah, a fun thing is to Google like IHOP murders.
IHOP murders.
You see like few of them and you're like, uh-oh, IHOP, get your shit together.
All the real true crime people are like, okay, but which IHOP murder, Gina?
Which one? There's one of the searches on Google is IHOP murders D because I guess there's so many of them that people were like, no, this one.
No. Were they all in Florida as well?
No, they're not. Okay. But yeah, I definitely feel like, this is a great
This
story.
is our series now on IHOP murders. It's just a little mini season.
Next week will be Virginia. We'll take you to the state of Virginia. It's weird how breakfast foods and violence. Yeah. You would think the opposite because when I eat a good breakfast, I'm like happy and content. I don't want to kill anybody.
Any time of the day.
Zelda, no. She's scratching my furniture. No, and the only time I feel murderous around breakfast foods is if I'm like waiting at a diner and it's like taking too long, or like you're sitting at the table and you're just like, if I don't eat right now, somebody in this room is going to get killed.
When it's 4 a.m. and you wanted to leave the club 9 hours ago and we're like, let's get eggs. Like, no.
That's the only time. Anyone actively preventing me from getting the food that I'm hungry for is in danger.
Now I really want to go to a diner.
I know. I've been wanting pancakes. I've been wanting pancakes. In fact, we went, when did I go to breakfast? I went to breakfast the other day, maybe. I don't remember what day it was, but I asked if they had whole wheat pancakes and they didn't. And it ruined my whole, I was like, all right, I guess I'll have oatmeal.
Oh, you couldn't even get regular pancakes?
I just felt like I'm trying to be good.
Enjoy pancakes. Oh my God, life is short.
It is short.
Pancakes are good. They're
Why don't
fine.
you have a whole wheat pancake at the diner? Like just for like I always my ex-boyfriend from college used to say this all the time. Like if one person asks for it, you just buy a box in case
Right.
somebody else
You
like
just
one
have
person
it.
in 10 years, you just have a box.
Well, I'm going to go to IHOP tomorrow and get an omelet so I can have pancakes and the semblance of eggs.
Yeah, I would like anyone who goes to IHOP, please. I want to see now that I know that they're not eggs, I want to see a picture.
This guy on TikTok swears, so I don't remember his name, but it's his fault if it's wrong.
If he's wrong, I'm gonna ask the IHOP. But now, yeah, now I want breakfast food for sure.
Just go in and be like, I want real eggs in my omelet and see what they do.
You can be like, okay.
They're not 24 hours either. Well, I guess nothing is now. The closest IHOP to me is 5.5 miles away.
Oh, there you go.
There was one on City Ave, but it closed.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Everybody go to a breakfast place this week. That's your assignment. And
Yeah.
please take a selfie of yourself with pancakes, with coffee
With
and scotch,
egg-like products of questionable provenance.
omelets, and share them with me. I love breakfast
I
food.
love
So,
breakfast
yeah.
food. And then don't forget on Friday we are talking about Mayor of Easttown and Law and Order.
Yeah. I hope Harry will join us.
Yes, Harry.
Um,
You're in it for the long haul now.
I
Sorry.
know. Sorry, Harry. You can't get out of it now,
This
Harry.
last episode was really good and also really ridiculous.
Of which one?
Of Mayor.
Oh,
Law and Order hasn't aired yet, but the
that's
last
right.
week
That's
was
right.
really ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's why I thought
So
when I heard ridiculous, I thought Law and Order. Maybe.
Mayor never. Are Del Crochet ridiculous? Never.
Did you guys see the Delco TikTok that I shared with you of the
Yes,
girl? Yeah,
girl.
her
That's
accent's
perfect.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. So join us Friday for
Yeah.
that. And
Um. Yeah, I'm gonna set up a channel raid. I'm gonna send you over to Harry Horror. In a couple of minutes, but we will see you. Yeah, we'll see you on Friday here, and then you can follow Facebook, Insta, Twitter at Crime and Cookies for like info on what we're doing before we do it. And yeah, have an awesome rest of your night.
yeah, bye
Bye bye.
everybody.
Okay.
That was fun.